to talk about luxury cruising. From suites so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Krystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and this week we have Jason with us. Jason did a princess cruise in the Sanctuary, and I'm so excited to hear about his experience. Jason, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Hi, my name is Jason Robinson, and I live in Wisconsin, so I like to go places that are warm. I'm blessed with a spouse that really likes to shop for deals on cruises, and so I get to be surprised every time I go on a cruise.
Oh, awesome. I love it. I definitely have to hear more about that. So tell me, when did you find out about this princess cruise? And when did you find out that you were going to be in the Sanctuary?
Jennifer tried to keep that Sanctuary something of a secret at first, but I think she ended up having to let it out just so that we could register for things and start getting ready. She was trying to surprise me. I believe it was a birthday cruise for me, but she knows that I like things to be pretty painless and worry-free, and I don't like to over-plan things. So she tries to do most of the planning for us, which also feeds her ability to do her data analysis of comparing different deals and different amenities that are available. The really neat part was when she started talking about the technology. I work in technology, so hearing about the little pogs that you carry around that would identify you as you walk into places was really a neat exploration for me.
Yeah, awesome. Are those the medallions you're talking about?
The medallions, yes, that's what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely want to hear about those. But before we get into the medallions, tell us, knowing that Jennifer made most of the decisions to do this cruise, was there anything in particular once you learned about it that you were really looking forward to, or even before you got on board, really gave you a little bit of that, like, oh, wow, this is going to be something different?
I had been on a previous kind of luxury line cruise with Norwegian in their Haven area. And so one of the things that I was excited about was seeing how they expressed kind of the private area. Sometimes I find the giant crowds on Lido decks to be just overwhelming, and being able to have a quieter space with fewer people was one of the things that I was really excited about, particularly since I wake up really early, even on vacation. And so I like to have someplace I can go that will be quiet where I can read until my spouse manages to get out of bed and join me.
I'm with you on that. I love the quiet of a very early morning on a ship, especially if you can find a cafe that's open, you have a nice cup of coffee or a cappuccino, latte, whatever, a book, or maybe even just watching the other people that are up as early as you. It's just a really nice way. Sometimes you're just seeing the sunrise over the water. It's such a nice way to start the day.
Or over the island that you just pulled up to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So tell us about the ship. What were your impressions of the ship when you walked on?
Getting on the ship initially was pretty painless because we were in the Haven. We had an early board time. But initially, just getting on the ship, it seemed like a normal experience. We also didn't have a suite. We had one of the smaller rooms that the Sanctuary had. And so for my initial experience, it was like, well, this just seems like a normal cruise. The real win was when we got to go out to the Sanctuary itself. And they had a champagne wall with somebody holding champagne out a little window for you. And it was kind of, again, quiet, but they still had music and people were milling about and kind of getting to know each other as we waited for sail away. One of the things that caught my attention right away was the walking into the sanctuary. They had a little desk by the front entrance, and they greeted me by name, even though I had never been there before. And that's one of the features of the medallions is they can detect you as you enter. They apparently can see your name on a screen in front of them.
Yeah. Wow. So let me just back up for a second then. In the port area, was there a special section for sanctuary people, or you just went in with everybody else based on your room or maybe your status?
I don't recall that part of the experience.
So nothing,
Sorry.
but still it was smooth. And your room was a standard balcony, a mini suite. What was the room?
It was a standard balcony. Didn't seem special about it. As I said before, it didn't seem unique in any way. It just seemed like a pretty normal cruise line
Balcony stateroom. So the sanctuary was something separate that you can buy. Is it a buy up for, and can you book any stateroom and then add the sanctuary experience to that?
I'm not sure that that is the case. I know that all of the suites in that area came with it, and we were next to some of those suites. And so I don't know if it's an area thing or if it's something you can add to any of the staterooms.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's a quiet space with champagne. I'm not sure what a champagne wall is. Can you describe that?
Oh, it's really kind of cool. As you walk in, there was a greenery wall with a little ship's bell above it, and you'd ring the bell, and a door would open, and a hand would come out holding champagne.
I don't know why I am getting Addams Family.
It was kind of Addams Family, yeah.
But that's crazy. Wow.
Every other day they would do that. And so I'd sail away, and then every other day. And then I imagine they did it on the last day, although I didn't notice it.
Did they do anything like on other days? Like some days it was champagne, other days it was just plain orange juice. It was either there or not.
Yep, it was either on or off. But otherwise, it was a nice greenery with the logo on the greens. It was all right.
Nice. That
And
sounds
it was
cool.
right next to the bar. So if you didn't want champagne, you could just shuffle over a little bit and they can serve you.
And were all the drinks in the sanctuary included?
They were for our cruise. I don't know if that was our package or if it's inherent with the sanctuary, but yeah, it was all part and parcel, and you paid for it just with
The medallion.
the medallion. And that medallion worked in any of the facilities on the ship. And so we were able to also order the same things at every other bar as we were making our way around.
Yeah. So I guess the sanctuary is controlled. Was it controlled by your key card or was it controlled by your medallion to get in?
There was no key card. The medallion was your key card. So you'd walk up and you'd use it to scan into your room as well. And in fact, sometimes it didn't seem consistent. And I don't know why it wouldn't be, but sometimes it would say my name as I walked up to the door on the little panel next to the door.
And I can see how some people would think that's really cool. I mean, I'm in the cool camp. Some people might think that's a little creepy. They'd be like, I don't need my door to know my name.
Fair enough. One of the things that was neat about it was small. And so I bought a lanyard that just kind of looped around my belt and stayed in my pocket. And so I never had to dig it out. I never needed it, except for occasionally when we were out in some of the larger bars with lots of people around, they would ask me to take it out and put it on a pad. Probably because there's so many of them, they wouldn't be able to tell which one was which.
Yeah. I'm so curious about too, like you being a technology person, what kind of technology do you think that is? It sounds like you don't even have to like press it to your door. You just have to be close.
Yep. It's probably an RFID chip. The Apple has the little AirTags. It's probably the same technology. In fact, it looks like an AirTag in a lot of respects. And so I suspect it's just a custom made AirTag that they have supporting technology throughout the ship.
Cool. That sounds really cool. Was the medallion also part of the sanctuary or the suites, or could like anybody also get a medallion?
It looked like everyone had medallions. It was just ours was a different color than other folks and also had extra permissions, obviously. But I believe everyone was carrying a medallion. I didn't ask. And to be honest, I spent a lot of time in the sanctuary, so I didn't meet a lot of people outside of the sanctuary groups.
So let's go back there. Tell us, other than the bar and the champagne wall, what was it like in that little sanctuary club?
They had a private pool area, and it was on the rear of the ship. So you walked out and there was a pool right in front of you and an area around that. And there was a nice shaded area that had like a pergola over it with 8 different kinds of chairs in these areas. And you had everything from your typical lounge chair that you'd see on any deck to big puffy pillow chairs that slung in elastic and everything in between.
I love those big puffy pillows, like the ones that are like suspended and they rock a little bit.
Yep.
I love those.
Yeah. And, when I wanted to sit in the sun, I could go and move over to one of the more traditional sitting in the sun chairs. Or if I wanted to kind of curl up with my book and be as alone as I could in an open space, that was possible too. And then it kind of wrapped around behind as well. Like there was a pillar, so to speak, where the bathrooms were. And behind there was another place where you could go and lay down that had the more sofa-like sitting areas. It was, and that looked out off the back of the ship.
Beautiful.
And there were a couple of hot tubs. And the one complaint that Jennifer had, I didn't spend much time in the pool, but she loves to, as she puts it, day drinking in water is her hobby. Her one complaint about the pool was you had to use a ladder to get out. So there were no stairs to get out of the pool.
Good to know if it's harder for you to get out with a ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. But the service was impeccable. The ratio of staff to personnel in the sanctuary area was incredible. And they rapidly learned your name every time they walked up to you. And they all carried like a little device that they would use to scan your medallion. And you could get pretty much anything you wanted. They had a menu that was specific to the sanctuary, but you could order from anywhere and have it delivered to the sanctuary.
Drinks and food?
Yes.
Wow. So was there a restaurant in the sanctuary, or you just ordered food and they brought it to you from wherever?
You just ordered food, and they had their own like separate menu, but you could order from any of the menus and they would bring it. There was no restaurant in the sanctuary area itself. Although I ate meals there on more than one occasion because I would order food and just not leave.
From like a specialty restaurant or from some of the, I'm not familiar with Princess's sort of included dining venues. So elaborate on that for me, please.
They offered the menus from all of the places, but I mostly just ate off of their special sanctuary menu, which came on these little, I hesitate to call them bento boxes because they were big trays that were like bento boxes, big lid that came off and uncovered all of these compartments that would have a variety of foods in them. So it was, in that respect, I mean, it was just easier to eat that way, particularly when lounging in a chair trying to read a book.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
Then as the drinks were also excellently prepared, and they were more than happy to have you order off menu, so to speak, and make something up.
I love it. And how was the food? Like quality, taste?
The food was terrific. We did have a couple of experiences in the specialty dining restaurants, but if I wasn't eating in the sanctuary, we also had a private dining area that was actually the upstairs of the main dining area. You could see down into the main dining area from the sanctuary restaurant. And as you walked in, as you came down the hallway, they clearly had a screen at the host desks, and they would greet you by name, and they would ask if I was coming in alone, which I did oftentimes for breakfast. I would go there alone, and they would ask after my spouse, and is Ms. White coming along? Not today. And that was essentially everything that was in the sanctuary restaurant was being served downstairs, but was made to order. And served, again, the ratio of staff to people was much higher on the upper floor.
Yeah. So if I'm getting this right, the sanctuary had its own dining room, but it was in the main dining room, just separated by a floor.
Yes.
And the menu was separate, but probably prepared in the main dining room kitchen.
Correct.
Excellent. Did you have a chance to compare like the food? Sometimes I know, for example, on like Coastal Kitchen on Royal Caribbean, right? It's on lobster night, for example. They're not serving just a little lobster tail on a plate with maybe a potato and some vegetables. It's still lobster, but it's upscale. So I'm just wondering, did you ever have a chance to compare? Like, we're on paper, it seems like we're eating the same thing, but really the level and the quality in the sanctuary restaurant is a little bit higher?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I never made my way down there to be able to compare. So yeah, I don't have any insight there.
I was just curious. You mentioned before we were recording that you're one of the first people to experience the sanctuary, and that many of the other sanctuary guests didn't realize how many amenities came with the sanctuary. So tell us, what were the amenities?
Well, the fact that we had our own separate area was one, but also being able to order pretty much anything anywhere on the ship and they would come and find you was one of the other amenities that they had. I remember talking to a couple that didn't know that we had our own dining room. And so they had gone to the main dining room first. And then we were told, your sanctuary, you can go upstairs to your private dining room. Not everybody came out to the sanctuary on the first day and didn't know about the champagne wall. So that was a surprise for some folks. And that was a fun surprise. I think that's the main, and I don't think that some of the guests realized how different the experience was for the rest of the ship. Yeah. We've all been on those Lido decks where you would swear there's only one server, but you could look around and see 4 or 5 staff at the sanctuary at any given time. And other than trying to get the chairs that were in the shade at the right time, never experienced a problem finding a seat.
Yeah.
Like there was always someplace to move. And if I didn't like where I was sitting, there was always someplace else to go. It was never crowded the way some of the other decks are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just rewind 1 second because I thought I heard something and I was like, what? So if you're in the sanctuary, can you be outside of the sanctuary area? Let's say you're just like in one of the general bars and you're like, you know what? I think I want that sandwich from that other restaurant over there. Can you like call somebody and be like, hey, can you bring me that sandwich to the pub? Or did you have to be in the sanctuary area?
You could order on the app and they would bring it to where you were.
That's beautiful.
I never did it because I didn't trust it. But they offered it. And the other thing I didn't trust is that I would still be there in a half an hour when they finally found me.
Yeah, you don't want to commit yourself to staying in one area unless you're absolutely sure.
Unless you're in the sanctuary, and then you're happy to be there all day.
Yes, exactly. That's fantastic. Were there any other perks in terms of like seating for the main theater shows, or I don't know if the ship had, like any bells and whistles if you wanted to do like a rock climbing wall or whatever, that I don't know even if Princess has rock climbing walls that gave you a special time.
I think we had special seating in the big theater. I don't recall using it on that particular trip, but there may be more amenities than that. I'm just not recalling what they were, and we probably didn't use them. Yeah.
You use what appeals to you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is there anything else about the sanctuary or just about the Princess experience? Because it is a premium cruise line. I mean, even if you are in the least expensive, lowest deck, inside stateroom, you're still going to have a really nice experience. So is there anything else about the trip, the sanctuary, that you think we haven't covered?
I don't think so. When I think back on it, it was one of the more enjoyable trips that I had because of that quiet space that was always available. But I can't recall any specific things that jump out at me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, then let's step back from this particular cruise. And I'm just going to ask you a couple things that I ask everybody. And the first is, how do you define luxury?
That's a great question. When I'm thinking about a luxury experience, it's one where I don't need to put forth the effort to raise it up in quality. I don't have to do the work, so to speak, of making it a great time. It's made a great time before I get there.
I like that.
In some respects, to kind of contrast it in some ways, the Virgin line has managed to take a piece of that luxury and make it kind of part of that by having all of those individual restaurant experiences available and kind of the rock and roll show happening everywhere on the ship. Mm-hmm. And so to some extent, they've kind of stepped up a little bit beyond in that respect. But yeah, just having someone else make it great is really a big piece of what makes it luxury.
Yeah. Awesome. Actually, I wanted to ask you one other thing before I get to my other standard questions. You had mentioned that you also have experienced the Haven. So,
Yes.
because I've had other people on the show that have compared like the Haven to Cunard Princess Grills or Cunard Grills and Star Class. Give us a pros, cons, compare, contrast of the Sanctuary to the Haven.
Well, if you need a concierge, Haven is where it is. They're just dead on and they're terrific and they're very accommodating. At the time, we were traveling with a friend who was a quadriplegic and he needed a lot of accommodations, and they fell over themselves to make that accommodation happen. So that's one thing that just stood out is when we needed tickets to go to a thing, we went to the concierge. They found us where we were and said, okay, here's what we've arranged for you. So that they definitely had above and beyond. The quality of the servers and the bar staff in the Haven area was as good as I've ever experienced and very excellent. The dining room was actually in the same space as the private bar on the ship we were on and was very intimate and much more restaurant-like, if that makes sense. Like a lot of the cruise stuff is very large and spacious and it feels like a cruise restaurant. This felt very much like you were in a small restaurant somewhere on shore, just with an awesome view. Contrast wise, that particular ship, and I wish I could remember the name of the ship, didn't have a great pool area. And it had one of those roofs that was supposed to come back to open it up to but it didn't work on that cruise.
In the Haven, your Haven, like retractable roof wasn't working.
Yeah. And so it was just kind of a little stuffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we ended up spending a lot of time in other parts of the ship because of that. And the bar area was relatively small and had, in my opinion, furniture that was way too large in it. So I think that's more a question of the age of the ship we were on, and perhaps they needed to do some refreshing there. But I don't know. The experience of getting on and off on that particular cruise was different. Haven had its own space. And I remember it a little bit more because we had the extra challenges of moving with somebody who was in a power chair. But just their staff was amazing as far as that kind of thing went. And just like they asked us proactively, what shows do you want to go to? And we actually got taken to one show before they opened the front doors. So they sat all of the people from Haven and then they opened the doors and let everybody else in. It was all about the album Rumors, and it was just basically a musical about the making of that album.
Cool. That sounds cool. I haven't seen that at all. So I don't know if it's specific to Norwegian, but that sounds like a really cool show.
I think it's a Norwegian thing that they do in one of their bars.
Yeah. So if you were faced with sort of like same exact itinerary, same exact price, Haven versus Sanctuary, which one would you choose?
I think I would choose the Sanctuary.
Tell us why.
I was a lot more comfortable in the Sanctuary. I didn't really need the concierge level service for our normal experience. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the Sanctuary. I spent a lot of my time. I didn't even go ashore a couple of times because I was like, I think I'm going to be more comfortable here than I'm going to be traipsing around an island. I think it is. We hit a couple of islands that I'd already been to, and I'm like, I don't need to see.
Yeah, the same shopping
again.
and say it's just a beach and been to many beaches, been to this beach many times. Or just rather to use your time on the ship. The ship overall is quieter, and then I'm sure the Sanctuary was even quieter.
It didn't change as much as I expected it to. We had a couple of folks that were on the ship that had been on. Sounded like they pretty much lived on ships, doing back to back forevers, including one man who got way too much sun. He was tanned like leather.
Yeah, never good. Not what we're used to seeing, those of us that live in the current frozen north.
Well, it's getting warmer. I think it's all the way up to 20 degrees here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, here too. It was amazing. It was amazing how I walked outside, it's 20 degrees. I'm like, wow, it doesn't feel that bad. So getting back to our questions, did this experience in the Sanctuary meet your definition of luxury?
Absolutely. The experience was exactly what I liked. And I'm really glad that Jennifer spent the extra time to find it and spent the extra money to make it happen.
That's awesome. That's so good. Do you have a dream cruise?
I don't know that I have a dream cruise. I would like to see if one day we can make it happen, what it looks like to be in one of the luxury lines of Virgin, because just the regular experience is so terrific. I wonder what it's like on the other side of the curtain.
Yeah. I have to say, I have interviewed someone that's done a Rockstar suite, and it very much is that feeling of being let through the velvet rope. You're like going into the VIP part of Rock Club. So if you have the opportunity, I would definitely go for it. It sounds
like
amazing. Do you currently have any luxury travel or travel at all planned that you know of?
Jennifer has something booked for us at the end of April, and I couldn't tell you a thing about it. And I kind of like it that way.
Well, definitely if it's a luxury cruise, if it's a Rockstar suite on Virgin, I would absolutely love to have you back. Thank you so much, Jason, for being here. And thank you to the listeners for joining me once again. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.
Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.